Victor from Brightside Pest Control in San Antonio, Texas, wants to know about scheduling and keeping customers.
Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business.
Hey, yo, what's up? This is Frank Hernandez, your Pest Geek. Happy Monday to you all. I'm so excited to be here. Still under the weather, trying to get things done. My voice is a mess. I'm actually trying to record 4 podcasts in one day. The reason is these podcasts take an awful lot of time to produce and to get things to happen. And I got a business to run and other things to do. So I'm trying to do as much as I can in the time that I have allotted to me to get this done. So if my voice sounds the same as it did in the last week's podcast, it's probably because I'm recording it in the same day. So yeah, I'm a nut. I'm trying to record 4 podcasts with a cold and a raspy voice, and I hope I don't start coughing all over the place. But in any case, I am so excited that you're here, and I've got a great podcast for you, brought to you by one of our guests that are listening to us over Facebook. And Victor has been listening for a while, and he reached out to me with a voicemail and a follow-up email. And also I had a good conversation with him on the phone. We probably talked for a good hour about his situation, and he's in his first year of business. And I want you to listen to what he has to say. But first of all, I want to remind you that if you would like to be part of the podcast, just like Victor is, give us a call, 707-395-7378. Hey, if you don't want to identify yourself because you've got a question that's probably a little on the edgy side and you don't want anybody to know who you are, hey, that's okay. Just call, leave the voicemail. You don't have to leave your name or your company name or anything, but we do greatly appreciate you contributing to the podcast and being part of it. Also, I like to give out a shout out to Sean Payne. Is in Lakewood, Ohio, following us on Facebook. We also get to chat sometimes over Google Plus, and he's part of one of the groups that we have on there, and that I'm a part of. And he writes on Facebook. He wrote, "The Pest Geek podcast has helped me structure my business better. I'm sure my profits increased from the great information that is provided. I'll never not listen to another episode." Hey, look. Thanks, Sean. I really do appreciate that and you being part of the podcast. Also, I want to give out to Nathaniel. And Nathaniel, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce your last name, but it is spelled Ojcius. And he's a certified PCO in Washington State. He's also a Jesus follower and a student at WWCC. He's following us on Twitter. And also, we're having a conversation over on Google Plus in one of the forums, and he's been part of that. And man, just glad all you guys are sharing and we're contributing together, trying to make this space, the pest control industry, a whole lot better. Because a lot of us, take the blame for a lot of stuff we're not doing, and a lot of people are doing things wrong, and there's a lot of people out there really, 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 really trying to do things right and do right by other people. And we do thank you for contributing and for being part of this. Hey, if you want to find us, look us up anywhere on the web. We're going to be there. Pest Geek Podcast, you can just Google that, and you'll find us in a bunch of places like Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus, and probably other places that nobody even uses anymore. We're on there, and you can find us. We're also on iTunes and Stitcher Radio, and we're looking at pretty soon. Google Play has come out with a new podcast section for podcasters, and we will be on Google Play soon. So if you like Android devices and you prefer Google Play, hey, we'll be on there. Also, this podcast is sponsored by Audible. If you like listening to great content, you're going to love Audible. Hey, give it a try. You get a free book, free download. You got nothing to lose, and you help out the podcast. audibletrial.com/pestgeek. And for you real techie guys out there, I got a really cool tech tip of the week. Really low tech, but really useful. It's a telescopic swivel mirror by Craftsman. It's $9. You can order it at craftsman.com. We've got a link to it. If you're doing an inspection for roaches, for anything, and you can't see behind tight places, this thing has a telescopic with a swivel on the end. It's a nice big mirror. It's 2 1/8 by 3 1/2, and you can actually see behind her. It is an absolute necessity if you do IPM and you're looking to do crack and crevice and get those bugs where they are hiding. It's a great little tool. $9 for a Craftsman mirror. Check out the link on the Pest Geek podcast. I'm also going to put it in our tool section, so you can just go right to the tool section of the Pest Geek podcast and take a look at it there. And we're going to get to the question of the week that was brought to you by Victor. Victor is our sponsor for this podcast also. He contributed and made it possible. He's going to ask a question about scheduling and about also about keeping customers after a while. Check it out. Check what he has to say.
Hey, Frank. This is Victor with Brightside Pest Control in San Antonio, Texas. I just want to drop you a note and say thank you very much for putting on your podcast. It's very, very informative. I now also have another reason to look forward to Mondays. I wanted to pose a quick question to you. I've been in business right at a year now, and it's grown faster than I thought it would. It's doing really, really well, and it's pretty exciting. But the question I have is, how do you deal with scheduling? I cover the entire San Antonio market by myself, so I try to group my customers, of course, into one day in this zip code, one day in that zip code. And I have so many customers that are very, very quick to ask for a reschedule, and I end up deadheading all over town. And I just wanted to ask you guys how you or some of your people might deal with that. Also, getting people to sign, once they've signed up and you do your first service and they're doing, and they agree to go into an every other month service, how do you deal with keeping them there? I have so many customers that are very excited the first service and they say yes, they want to sign up. I don't hold anybody to any type of contract, but it's so quick for the second or third or fourth service to get a cancellation. And I would love some input on how to deal with stuff like that. Once again, thanks for doing what you do. Have a great day.
Hey, Victor, I want to thank you for that. And that is actually a very, very, very common question that happens a lot in pest control. Like I said, what I did was I read the questions. I then went into the San Antonio market and did a quick analysis of, population, territory, distances and all that to try to understand where he's at. And then as I read through his question, he has a really a two-part question, but really they're all kind of related together. And a lot of it has to do when, and then I send him an email and I say, look, this is what I believe. This is what I believe is going on. Let me know what you think if I've got it. Because I hate to be presumptuous and, I don't know everything and I don't know a lot of things. And I have to really, until you sit down and you analyze a business, you analyze their sales strategy, you analyze their pricing, you analyze their contracts, you analyze a lot of things, you really don't know what's going on in the business. You can assume all kinds of things and just, what happens when you assume. So I hate to do that. And I sent him an email and I said, this is what I believe. He says, no, you're dead on. And then we had a conversation for about an hour on the phone. We were actually going to record a podcast together. I was going to bring him on as a guest so we can talk about his first year. We're trying to reschedule that. I tried to use a piece of software called Ringer for our phone and they just did an update and it wasn't working. And I really like that app because it frees us up. We were going to do a podcast on the road when he was on the road and I was on the road and we can record it on our cell phones and then get the download. And it's a great piece of software, but it didn't work. So we had to cancel that. And I'm so sorry, Victor. I'm trying to get for you to get rescheduled with me so we can actually get this done. But I did that. And if you look at the San Antonio market is huge. I mean, this is just everything in Texas is big. They've got the I-35 running through it, I-37 running through it, and they have the 410 outer belt. And then they have these small outer belts that are miles away, 50, 60 miles away from the center of San Antonio, like the 173 and the 46. And you don't know. And what Victor's doing a whole lot of is a lot of internet marketing, which he's doing really well. I mean, he comes up on the market and he's getting calls from all over. And this is typical problem of people who go into a business being a tech, and they don't have all the support they might have had when they were working for a larger company. They don't have a sales staff. They don't have customer service. They don't have 10 techs running around that can easily take care of one other's territory or reschedule, and that's fine because they're in that territory. He's covering an entire market that any good-sized company would have 8 to 10 techs in, because it's 1.8 to 2 million people. So you can easily have 10 techs in a company running the San Antonio market by itself. And one of the things that I've learned when I worked for a very, 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 very large company, at that time it was a $2 billion company, and then we merged and we became a $4 billion company. But I got to work directly under probably one of the most brilliant people that I've ever worked for. He was the vice president of sales for that company. And he used to be the vice president of a large franchise. And he used to be the vice president of franchising many, many years ago. And it's just a brilliant person that just taught me a ton about understanding markets, understanding territories, understanding setting up territories. And the 4 years, probably one of the best people I've ever worked for, the most humble man I've ever worked for. Brilliant. I mean, you can mention any little town, like you would say, where is Dewey's? And he would tell you, oh, Dewey's is, it's southwest, southeast of San Antonio. It's near the principal business center. The population is so many. I mean, this guy had that information about the entire United States in his head. Just a very, very impressive individual. So I learned a lot from him about studying markets and about territories and about strategic selling. And, everything that I've learned, I've tried to bring here. And one of the things that I immediately looked at is when somebody tells me I'm covering everything by myself, the person has problem with scheduling. Well, it's all related because you're covering a territory that is too big. It's just too big. And when you're on the internet, you're going to get calls from everywhere. And as a salesperson, you got to learn to qualify your customer right over the phone, in person. We personally here in Miami-Dade, where I'm at, we do not do for general household pests, just general household pest problems. We do not do inspections. We do not send a salesperson out to close that deal. We close 75% of our sales right over the phone. And it's not based on pricing. When we get a call, we qualify that customer. We find out where they're at. The first question I ask the customer, where are you calling from? I don't cover the entire Miami-Dade yet. And the reason I don't is because of customer service, because of these exact problems. When I first took over, we were everywhere. And I said, no, this is going to end. When gas hit $5 a gallon down here, the economy took a dump, and we were running a huge V8 vehicle, and my gas bill was $1,000 a month because I got a call from somebody on the beach. You got to understand, in certain parts of the country, you can travel 35 miles across that area and you won't run into a single person. In Miami, 2.8 million people, just about as much as in San Antonio, but San Antonio has more territory. It's an hour with just basic traffic to get across town one way, to get across the other side. And an hour back, and then the time you're servicing it, I would have to charge that customer $300, $350 just to make one trip to make it worth my while. Because I can't spend 2 hours of travel time to service a 30-minute problem. So we decided we don't do the western part of the county. We only do the eastern part, and we cover it based on the highway system. We have available to us the turnpike here. So I cover about, right now, 28 miles of straight road across. So I can either service you in the morning or I can service you in the evening if you give me a call, because I'm going up and down that territory twice a day. And I make it clear to my customers that one of the things that you have to look at, if you're doing the traditional indoor-outdoor spray service, that customer has to be there every single time. The way we got around that problem is that with our system, and we do this in our sales presentation right up front with the customer, we only need to make 2 appointments in this life for you. Your initial service, your follow-up services, and if you ever have a problem indoor. Once we get rid of your problem, and once we do an exterior service only, we only ever have to go back if you ever have a problem. When we perform our services, you don't have to be home. There are a lot of customers who call and say, well, I really want to be here when you perform the service. And I say, look, Mr. Customer, that's not our program. We don't do that. And if you're the kind of customer that demands that you be there every single time, we just qualified you right over the phone as not one of our customers. We do the best to try to comfort you, to try to show you. Once we schedule your initial service and we get rid of that problem, that customer never has any doubts that we're capable of taking care of that problem, because we didn't spray an ounce of product on their property on the inside to get rid of it. And they now trust us as a professional to get rid of their problem. Usually that goes away after the initial service. If the customer still insists on that, I said, Mr. Customer, we gladly took care of your problem. Unfortunately, from this point on, we can't serve you if that's what your requirements are. We qualify the customer, and everyone is not our customer. If you call me from an area, from the beach, right now, we tell customers all the time, I'm sorry, I can't service you. And the reason I can't is because when you call me and you have a problem, I can't be there that same day. I can't be there immediately. I can usually be within a customer 15 to 20 minutes from the time they call. And I cover about 1.5 million people. But because of the way I've structured it, based on my traffic flows, I know when the traffic is heavy. I know when so I tell customers, we can't be there at 8 o'clock in the morning if you're across town on the other side, because it would take us 3 hours to get across town first thing in the morning. I would have to get up at 5, spend 3 hours in traffic just to get to you. Most people are understanding. So I say, is there the person who takes care of the house home? Is there a nanny? Is there a sister? Is there somebody else that can be there during the day? If not, we will schedule it for the evening. We gladly do evening service. We gladly will do a service at 7 o'clock at night for you. We are flexible, but we have to work it around our specific conditions here in this city. People work. People, they're not always home. And it all depends. Second of all, that's how we handle it. So we really, really focus on micro marketing to a specific area. The second thing that we do is the people that mostly call are in that upper middle class income, 75 to 250,000. That's our target customer. And the reason is because this is a market where people are looking. I get people who call me and here is, you listen to the vocabulary of people and how they talk and what they ask for. And this tells me a whole lot of things about them. When a customer calls me, I want you to come and spray my house for roaches. 9 out of 10 people will call me and ask me for that. And that's a dead giveaway of what service they received in the past, a spray-only service. And then from the get-go, I do the consultations. First of all, we will never spray your house unnecessarily. That just floors them. They've never heard that from anybody. So we position ourselves uniquely different than everybody else in the marketplace, intentionally. That's our unique selling proposition. We don't have to spray your house to control pests. As a matter of fact, every university study shows that can be counterproductive, and you can get, at best, a 70% control of your pests. You're never going to get complete control with just a spray service by itself. When I tell them that, I didn't know that. Now we've qualified them as, are they willing not to have a spray service? If they insist, well, I just want a spray service because this sounds expensive. Dead giveaway in the vocabulary. Well, how much are you paying now for pest control? Well, my guy used to come here and charge me $35 every time I called him. That is not my customer. That is not a qualified customer. I am qualifying that customer over the phone, and I'm going to know that customer, if I spray their house, they're going to call me again in 6 months when they have a problem, thinking it's going to solve their problem. I get all those kinds of calls all the time. I get calls on termites, which I don't do. So those are automatically qualified and we don't do them. So really, out of the calls that we get, qualified customers out of 10 calls might be 3 to 5 that are qualified. The rest are not qualified customers. They're not, we can't sell people everything that they want all the time. We don't do that. And you have to, in your business, and every person has to get a niche market. And understand you can't serve every customer. You can't serve every customer everywhere. And you can't serve every customer every time the customer wants to be served, because you're just not a large company. When people tell me, well, I need you here when I'm here and I need you on a Tuesday of every month, it has to be at this time. And I say, listen, Mr. Customer, you're going to need a large company. Yeah, but I don't want to sign a contract. Well, unfortunately, the only people that can really handle your service is a really large company that can do all that can schedule whenever you want, have a technician whenever you want, and it's going to require a commitment on your part. And when the customer doesn't want to do that, they're not our customer. And we're okay with turning the business down, and we're okay not having it, and we're okay not going after it, because in the end, when we solve their problem and it's a one-time service, they're going to be gone because they just wanted a one-time service. And I make that question, do you want a one-time service or do you want a regular service? And since we don't have long-term contracts where we don't hold anybody down, we have to charge up front. While other companies may have a $125 initial fee, which just about every large company down here does, and a $55 to $65 every bi-monthly outdoor service only, we're somewhere around $250, because a one-time service is never a one-time service. You have to schedule callbacks automatically. If I find an ant problem, I know I'm not going to solve that problem in one shot if it's a serious infestation. We have protocols and procedures that we have set up, and we tell the customer, this is the protocol and procedure that we're going to use to treat your home, and we do that in our sales presentation. Mind you, this takes about 10 minutes over the phone. I'd rather spend 10, 15 minutes on the phone with a customer than have to drive 30 minutes in traffic and not be able to sell them anything. I understand my market. I understand the culture. I understand that mostly it's 54% Hispanic. And what they want and what they're used to is a spray service, and they don't want what I have. The only people that want what I have are people making $100,000, $150,000 a year or more. And if I look at your home and you're in a depressed part of town that, the average income is 30-something thousand, I know that you're not going to be my customer. I get your address. I look up your information online. We have a database here that we can look up the address. We know the property value. We understand all this. And if you don't do that, you will be selling to the wrong customer expecting a different result. So that's what we do. And it's been through 25 years of sales experience, understanding how to qualify a customer, understanding that every customer is not my customer, and that's okay. I don't have to serve every customer. There are plenty of other people out there that do what they're wanting them to do. And what I usually recommend the company for them. I say, look, what you want, I can't do. I recommend so-and-so. He can serve you better. I think that's better customer service than you trying to do something to the customer, trying to adapt your company to everybody. And you can't. You can't be all things to all people all the time. So the issue with scheduling, where people want you to be there on a certain time, you got to schedule, you got to tell that customer up front, listen, Mr. Customer, we don't do that. This is how we do it. And this is how our company is set up, and this is how our procedures are set up, and this is how we're going to take care of you. If you ever have a problem, we will come out at no charge whenever you schedule it at your convenience. Why? Because we failed. But if we don't, and you're happy, you never have to see us again. We never have to interrupt your day. You don't have to sit there waiting. Nobody wants to sit there and wait for the pest control guy. It's an issue of trust. And you have to build up that trust with your expertise up front. We consult them on what specific pest problem they're having. They'll tell me, I got a little tiny ant. Well, I already know that's a ghost ant. I said, here's how you handle that, Mr. Customer. This is the reason why you have an infestation. This is how that pest behaves. After I do your service, I automatically have to schedule a second service because I know I'm not going to get rid of it in the first shot. Customer wants to hear, well, I need you to take care of it once because I don't have time. Listen, Mr. Customer, I appreciate that. I understand that. But I really can't give you that, and I can't guarantee that. This is how we have protocols and procedures based on specific pests. We understand that pest biology, it's not about insecticide. And a reason I know it's not because they've already tried. I've bought this, I've bought that. You've tried everything and it doesn't work. And you can see it's not about chemical. It's about understanding the pest biology. And I will get that out of them. I will get what products they've used. I need to know that. And we do this in 10, 15 minutes on the phone. This isn't a long 1 hour presentation. This is very short, but I understand what they're going. I understand the pests in my market. I understand what they're going through. And then I can able to guide them. So you don't take on every customer. You're going to have to turn some customers away that are outside of your service area. You decide what service areas you're going to be able to service on a routine basis that you can service, because it's not what the customer wants, what you can humanly possibly do. And if you've got to spend an hour, you lose a sale, you lose a service, and that costs you money during the day. And if the customer can't understand that, then they need to go with somebody else. And you have to be comfortable doing that and turning down business. You can't be uncomfortable doing that because you're playing three roles. You're playing the role of a salesperson, the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician, the administrator. You're doing all these roles. You're wearing all these hats, and you can't possibly fulfill all of your obligations to all of these roles yourself and then take on every customer. You're going to fail. Usually after your first, second year, you start figuring that out, that you're running racket. You're going to lose it. So that's one of the things. The second part about losing the customer after 2 or 3 services. That customer was going to go regardless of what you did. They wanted a one-time service and they wanted to get, and usually it has to do with pricing. If your pricing is so low that you offer a $35, $45, $55, $65 one-time service, you're going to catch the fish that you use the bait to catch. If you use a low price to get the customer, understand that that customer came to you because of that low price. When you sell whatever it is that you sell, that customer is coming to you based on your sales proposition. Whatever they see online, whatever they went, whatever they saw in the ad, they're going to call. And whatever bait you use, that's the customer you're going to catch. See, if you got a doctor and a lawyer who don't have time to deal with this, they're going to stick with you if you solve their problem because they don't have time to deal with. They don't want to deal with. They got more important things to do with their life. If you got a person that has all the time in the world that works Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 and they're home every weekend, they got all the time in the world. They can calculate and say, it's much cheaper for me to do it myself. I can go down to the hardware store, buy the product, try myself, and I can fail miserably at it, but I'm going to try anyway because I got nothing to lose. So that customer that is with you with no contract, if they know there's a way out, then you have to put, what we do is we say, look, Mr. Customer, your initial service is about $250 to solve this problem. It's going to take maybe 1 to 3 trips to solve it. We're going to solve it. Once we do that, then your maintenance, your preventive fee is an exterior only service. It's every 2 months. Your bill gets mailed to you automatically or emailed. We don't leave anything on the door. We'll leave a sign on the yard. This is our procedure. You'll know we were here. We can definitely send you an email once we're here and the service is completed. You'll get an invoice. The invoice is time-stamped. You know at what time we were here. You can check your cameras. You know what service we did. You can trust us to do that. If you trust me to do your service, I will trust you to pay me. And you leave it at that. And this is how we do it. If you do a $65 service and you do 3 of them, and it took you 3 months, once that problem is solved, they're gone because that's what they were looking for. So you got to know who your customer is, and a lot of it is going to depend on their culture. I deal with a lot of Hispanic people down here that the price doesn't mean anything. They want to negotiate everything. Everything is negotiable. Your price is too high. You need to cut it in half. And I say, look, our prices are clearly marked on our website. We do not reduce our prices. We do not do that. This is our price. This is what we do for that price. This is the result we give you. And this is what, and if you don't understand that, like once again, you're not our customer. We look for, mostly our customers are college educated. They're affluent. They live in properties that are $500,000 and above. They are busy. They don't have time to deal with all this nonsense. They want their problem solved. They'll write me a check at the end, and they're not going to complain about it. We understand who our customer is, and you have to do that. Everybody has to do that. And that will reduce a lot of your problems that you encounter later on when the customer says, oh, but you didn't tell me you were coming out every 2 months. No, I gave you a contract. You can cancel that contract within 30 days. I pointed it out to you. I flipped that contract in the back and I said, here's our all terms and conditions. They're all listed. Here's what we won't do and here's what we will do. And we go over that contract with the customer once we're in the home. They can't say we didn't tell them. They can't say I didn't understand. If you want to cancel, that's great. We will cancel your contract, but you're still going to pay the upfront fee. Since we don't have contracts, there's always a high-end upfront fee to solve the problem because it doesn't take 1 to 2 visits. It always takes more, and we guarantee the control of that problem. We give them up to 60 days after that, and after 60 days, there are no more callbacks. So if you don't want us out there again, you have to let us know up front when we do the service because scheduling takes. Once we put you in our computer system, I don't want to touch that contract again. We're going to input it. We're going to create it. The invoice is going to be automatically generated every single month. Your service dates, I let them know that their service dates and their invoice date are never going to coincide because we bill automatic. In order for me to keep my prices low, to offer the type of service we offer, at the price that we offer it, everything has to be automated. We can't pay people to be changing things because we can't keep our prices competitive to every other spray service company out there in order to give you this eco-friendly service at the same price everybody else is selling you their service. You see? So the way we do it is we automate the contract, the scheduling. If it rains that day, guess what? It gets done the next day. It gets pushed back. We've had areas where it rains for 5 days in a row. We can't do an exterior service when it's pouring. The customers understand that. And they appreciate it that we won't do a service, but understand we're going to be backed up. And they appreciate that. And we let them know what all that is up front and all the things that could happen. And that way, if there's ever a misunderstanding, we either, oh, well, I didn't understand. Well, we explained it. And I explained, remember that I explained this to you and I explained why? Because I always have the same sales presentation. I always have the same procedures. I don't change things based on what the mood I'm in. You have to learn to have policies and procedures and strategies in place that you effectively communicate to that client. And that, I think, is going to solve a lot of these problems that a lot of people have. This is one of the most common questions I get and one of the most common questions I read on blogs. How do you deal with that? And this is how you do it. You do it up front. If you wait till you get the customer to then change the rules of the game, you're going to lose every time. You can't call an audible in the middle of a play. You're going to fumble it. So that's what I have. That's what we're doing. I hope this helps. Be free to stop by the Pest Geek Podcast. There are links to many of these things on our show. Check us out. Thanks for listening, guys. Hey, it's been real fun. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.